George Galloway?
I always said the Conservatives made a mistake in overlooking the Right Honourable Lady, and she's shown it again today. In that regard, can she help me with what I think is a narrow but important problem? Both front benches support the continuation of arms sales to Israel, but the great majority of backbenchers, even on the other side, would like the opportunity to vote otherwise. It has been stopped, stymied in the past. I hope she can find a way that the House can freely express its attitude to this question, and the government and the Labour front bench might get a rude awakening and a big surprise.
Well, can I thank the honourable gentleman for his concern, but I haven't been overlooked. I'm leader of the Commons. I would just say to him, I mean, he has found his own answer to his own question. He has just been able to freely express his view on this particular matter. He will know that there are strict rules regarding our arms exports, and that is scrutinised as well by a select committee of this House. That is the government's policy. If those lines are breached and there is evidence of that, then that policy will kick in.
Pediatrician, I always talk about children. So for me, one of the first things I noticed in this current genocide was there were no children coming from Gaza to the UK, or anywhere actually, anywhere in Europe or the US being treated. And I think back to Ukraine. In my hospital, Great Ormond Street Hospital, we took 150 children from Ukraine within a few weeks of the conflict. Just took them on board, treated them, children who needed chemotherapy, whatever it was. And the government covered all these costs, you know, as part of the response plan, the emergency response plans. And that's great. That's how your government should react to a crisis. I have no issue with that. In fact, that is beautiful. That is what should be happening. In comparison, and we tried this, so we very early on went to our hospital and other hospitals in London and said, you know, what's the process to make this happen? Do you see what's happening? And I showed them pictures of children with horrific injuries, burns injuries that would require multiple plastic surgical operations to be done. And to be fair, the response from the hospital directors and the chief executives was very positive. They wanted this to happen. But you know what the roadblock was? The roadblock was the government. The roadblock was David Cameron. The roadblock was the Home Office. And despite initially them saying, sure, we can try and instigate this and we can try and help, very quickly they went silent, and very quickly it was clear that there was pressure on them to prevent this from happening. And to this day, not a single child from Gaza has come to the UK for treatment. Not a single child. France has taken children, Italy has taken children, the US has taken children. I was sitting at dinner a few weeks back with a pediatric neurologist, a friend of mine from Boston, who's hosting a Palestinian Gazan family in his house. His wife is Palestinian, and he's hosting them in his house, a child that came with complex craniofacial abnormality that needs an operation and multiple operations. And in the UK, nothing like this has happened.
We are all Palestinians!
In our thousands, in our millions!
We are all Palestinians!
We are here today because once again Rafah is being bombed and invaded by the Zionist entity. Shame!
Shame!
We are 8 months into the genocide. I won't read out statistics. We've all seen the numbers. We've all seen the inhumane crimes. We are truly living in a dystopian world. We know the Zionist entity's plan to displace the Palestinians to Sinai, and we see the betrayal of Sisi and his regime in aiding them, despite despite the Palestinians' refusal, as they will rightfully remain on their homeland and return in their millions. It is our duty and our responsibility to continue to protest and stand alongside our Palestinian brothers and sisters in the struggle for liberation. It is our responsibility to hold our institutions accountable for their complicity in the ongoing genocide. We have seen the student movement around the world and all the encampments spread across the US, the UK, Italy, France, more until we globalize the entire student revolution. I am a first year at SOAS, coming to speak to you about our encampment, which we launched yesterday. We launched our encampment because it's time we put more pressure on SOAS, an institution that markets itself as decolonial, yet in practice it is heavily invested in systems of oppression everywhere. Shame! When students speak up about genocide, like 7 students did back in October, we get suspended and removed from campus. When we say decolonization is not a metaphor, they only allow us to see it as a theoretical practice rather than an active one. Our demands are clear. Our demands to SOAS are clear. We want to cut ties with Haifa University, who train colonial officers who moonlight in the IOF and commit these heinous crimes in Gaza. We want to revoke the anti-protest policy. The only university in the UK that has an anti-protest policy is SOAS. Shame!
Shame!
It is a clear violation of our freedom of speech. And we want to hold individuals such as Adam Habib, president of SOAS, accountable for his refusal to cut ties with complicit organizations and condemning the genocide. Shame!
Shame!
We will continue to demand and to reiterate repression and apartheid off campus! We will not leave until our demands are met. We are here to stay and we will never, ever be silent! We will not relent. We, along with our brothers and sisters on campus all over the world, will not let this complicity to continue. We will not allow it. And our struggle is not only against our campuses, but against the complicit system. We learn from history and our comrades all over the world, from Vietnam to South Africa, to put pressure on our institutions and cut ties with genocide once and for all. And to end, I just want to say the Palestinians teach us what it means to be resilient and steadfast. I leave you with a quote from revolutionary Ghassan Kanafani. Everything in this world can be robbed and stolen, except one thing. This one thing is the love that emanates from a human being towards a solid commitment to a conviction or cause. Thank you very much.